So Nuj, we've been talking about all these examples and, lived experience, with our relationships with people in our lives, but it's not just anecdotal. There's been research into this phenomenon, research that looks at, quickly saying yes or avoiding argument. In 2022, there was a study from UC Berkeley where they found that people who self-silence themselves in a romantic relationship, they tend to have more negative conflict than less. Because people will say, all right, well, this pissed me off. I'm in my relationship. Something they did pissed me off. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to self-silence because I don't want to, engage in the conflict. This study found at UC Berkeley found that people who did that in their relationships ended up having more negative outcomes than people who actually leaned into the conflict and addressed it. What do you think about that?
I think that is valid. Because, I think that if you're not honest about how you're feeling, then that pushes you into pushes you into yourself, really, right? You just kind of recoil, and you 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 kind of shut down. You don't have any you feel like you've given up your strength, right? You've given up your position of I don't want to say power, because it's not really that, but you've given up something of yourself, or you've abandoned yourself um in some way, if you're not honest. And so by um by just being silent on something that you feel strongly about one way or the other, I think it just causes more problems initially for you. And I think that that's what spills over into your relationship, that that causes a problem.
Yeah. I mean, I think that research just really underscores, holding on to something like that to avoid discomfort now is only going to create a larger problem down the road. We talked about this in our difficult conversations episode. We made the analogy of, a difficult conversation being like a hand grenade. Once you pull that pin, there's a problem because, if you throw it, yes, it's going to blow something up. If you hold on to it, yeah, it's going to cause a problem too, because it's going to blow up in your face. So we got to treat it as such. We got to understand that postponing by putting this off, we're only postponing the conflict and making it bigger later.
Yeah, and I think, just to tag on to that just a little bit, I think in those situations, I think that we know it, right? I think we know that it happens, but for whatever reason, we feel helpless to not do anything different, or not to do, better with that situation, and just continuing to be silent, and just, abandoning who we really are at that moment.
Yeah, and I want to make sure that we make this clear as well. That we're not pitching this as, a judgment on a personality type or anything like that. What we're really talking about are communication skills.
Exactly.
We're talking about communication skills and honing our communication skills so that we can adequately express ourselves in any situation, whether it is with someone we're in a close relationship with, or somebody that is a total stranger to somebody in a professional environment. It's really about these communication skills and being willing and able to express how we're really feeling.